Hi everybody, welcome back to another day of multiplication, and today we are going to do another strategy for multiplication, or another way of seeing multiplication, and that is through something called arrays. And then we are going to go on a little bit of a house hunt and maybe even take a look outside to see if we can find what some of these arrays are. So what is an array? I'm about to show you. Okay, so here we go. If you look at these counters here, they are going across. And remember, our math word for across is horizontal. So that's going to be an important word that we use. Horizontal. And when we have a horizontal line, it's also called a row. Rows go across. We can also have what looks like a row going down. So the math word for up and down direction is vertical. And it's not called a row when it comes down, it's actually called a column. Has a tricky spelling, has a silent N on the end. Okay, so rows go across, columns go down. All right, and that's going to be important today as we look at arrays. Okay. So I'm going to create an array right here using those. Okay, so if we look at this, this is an array. It has everything lined up nicely in rows and columns. So when we have something arranged in rows and columns, it's called an array. Spelled like that. And it makes multiplication easy for us because it's nicely grouped together in an organized way. In this one, we see there are two rows. 1, 2. 2 rows of 3. That's the same as 2 groups of 3, isn't it? It's just that our groups are arranged in rows. But we can also look at the columns. We can look at the lines coming down. And so I have a column here, and another one here, and another one here. So there's 3 columns, and there's 2 in each column. So for this array, I can actually write 2 multiplication equations. 2 groups of 3, which is 6, or 3 groups of 2, which is also 6. So for every array, we can write 2 multiplication equations, unless the rows and columns are equal. So if I added another row here, let's take a look at what we have now. We have 3 rows with 3 in each row. So that's 3 groups of 3, which equals 3, 6, 9. And when I look at the columns, I also have 3 columns, and there's 3 in each column. So that's also 3 groups of 3. So if our rows and columns are equal, there's actually just one multiplication equation that we can write. Notice when they're equal, it forms a square. Where when they're not, when we had just our 2 rows of 3, it makes a rectangle. Now I can turn that rectangle this way, and I'm still going to have 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 2. It's just that this time I have 3 rows of 2 and 2 columns of 3. Whereas when it was turned this way, I had 2 rows with 3 in them and 3 columns with 2 in them. All right, so that is what an array is. So I thought it would be interesting to go on a little house hunt and see if we could find some arrays around the house. and I'm going to take you on my house hunt now. All right, so here we are. We're going to go on a little house tour, and I'm going to be on the hunt for some arrays. I wonder if I can find any. Let's take a look. Okay, looking. Let's try the living room. And, oh, I do see some arrays on this cabinet. So you can see I have rows going across, and there are 3 of them. And then there are columns coming down, and there's 3 of them as well. So altogether there would be 9 little sections in that cabinet. And I'm counting, even though these are actually little cupboards, I'm counting this as like 1 square section. Okay, so 3 groups of 3 would be 9. All right, let's see. No circles, nope, no rows and columns. How about in the kitchen? Okay, oh, here is one. I'm gonna have to step way back for it. So if I look at those cupboards in front, you can see they're divided into sections. There's 2 on the top, and then 2 in the middle, and 2 on the bottom. So there's 1, 2, 3 rows of 2, or 2 columns with 3 sections. Okay, and I guess I should have said on that last one, so 3 rows of 2 or 2 columns of 3, that would equal 6 altogether. Let's just open up the spice cupboard. Oh yes, I've got some groups of spices here. So if we look at these ones, rows and columns, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 3 columns. So that would be 3 groups of 3, or 9 spice bottles in that array. Here's another array. That one away. Just looking at these ones, there are 3 rows of 2, 3 groups of 2, or 2 columns with 3 in them, 2 groups of 3. So there are 6 spice bottles in that one. Okay. And I do know, because I emptied the dishwasher today, when we look into the cupboard, it might be kind of hard to see. I have an array of glasses here. So I don't know if you can see that. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 rows of them. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 in each row, which makes 4 columns of glasses. And so that would be 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3, which is 12 glasses. Okay, here we are in one of my bathrooms, and I've noticed that there's an array in the tiles. This is called a backsplash behind the sink. Catches all the splashes, and there's little tiles arranged in an array. So I'm just going to move some of these things out of the way, and let's take a look. So in this one, I have 3 rows going across. 1, 2, 3. And then when I count all the way across, I have 18 going across, or that is also the 18 columns, because there's 18 in a row. All right, so that would be 3 groups of 18. Can't even get the whole thing in. Or 18 groups of 3. And when I multiply that out, that actually equals 54. So just on that one section, there are 54 small little tiles. Here we are in another bathroom, and I have a big window here. I don't know if I can get back far enough to show you the whole window, but you can see the little sections of the window are arranged in an array. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in each row. So that would be 8 groups of 5 or 5 groups of 8. And I could use my skip counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 8 times. So there are 40 squares sectioned off in that window. I just wanted to show you that sometimes arrays are just one row. So this is the bottom of my bed, and you can see the little rectangles there. There's 1 and there's 2. There's none underneath, but it is one row of 2. And so I could write a multiplication for that as 1 group of 2. And if I'm thinking about columns, there's 1, 2 columns, and there's only 1 in each column, so that could be 2 groups of 1 as well, 2 times 1. So arrays don't always have to have more than one row or more than one column in them. Here is my garage door outside, and you can see in it that there are 4 rows going across, and in each of the 4 rows there are 7 little rectangles. And then if we look the other way, we have 7 columns with 4 rectangles in each column. So this would be 4 groups of 7 or 7 groups of 4 equals 28. So here are the mailboxes for the place that I live in, and we can't quite do a full array on these, but if you look at just the top 6 rows where all of the squares are the same size, each of the mailboxes are the same size, we can see that there are 6 rows with 6 in them. So that would be 6 groups of 6 equals 36, and we would just leave that bottom part off that has the bigger compartment. Here is what we call an arbor, and it's actually what I can see when I'm looking outside of my office window. And you can look at the little squares in the design there. There are 4 rows and 4 columns. So this would be showing 4 times 4, or 4 groups of 4 equals 60. And I thought I'd end with one of my favorite types of arrays. You can often see this in stores. Here's an array of chocolate bars, and you can see that there are 2 rows and there are 5 chocolate bars in each row. And if we look at the columns, we can see that there are 5 columns with 2 chocolate bars in each. So my multiplication would be 2 groups of 5 equals 10, or 5 groups of 2 equals 10. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed the little house tour and the pictures that I took outside. I'm really glad, actually, I took those pictures when I did, because it is now raining. The raindrops are hitting and flying up against my window out there. So good thing I did that earlier. All right, so your assignment today is to find some arrays and write some multiplication equations that go with them. Take a look in your house. If you have better weather than I do right now, even see if you can find some outside. All right, I look forward to seeing your pictures, or you can do it as a video if you wish. Just make sure that you explain to me what you're seeing in rows and columns and what the multiplication equation would be to go with it. Okay, hope you have some fun going on your array hunt. See you next time.